shoved the papers back into my hand, but my photo still ended up trending online. I'd been hopelessly in love with Isabel for 10 years. Everyone thought I couldn't live without her. But when I saw yet another set of intimate photos of her with someone else, I didn't feel a single thing. I didn't ask why she was wrapped around another man, and I didn't run to my parents in tears. Instead, she was the one trying to explain herself nervously. It's nothing with him. If you don't believe me, I'll call him right now. You can ask him yourself. I handed her the divorce papers without a flicker of emotion. Just sign this. We'll both be free. Her face froze in disbelief, her knuckles turning white as she gripped the papers. Never wanted a divorce. She whispered, "But I do," I said flatly. "I don't love you anymore, Mike. There are reporters outside. Should I create a diversion after work so you and your driver can leave through the underground garage?" My assistant, Ben, asked nervously, watching my expression as if I was about to explode. I lowered the document in my hand and looked up at him. "Reporters?" Ben swallowed hard. "It's Ms. Isabel, sir. She's in the news again." For a second, it didn't register. "Ms. Isabel. The internet is saying that last night she was with a male streamer," Ben explained. Carefully, I ignored him and picked up my phone. One glance at social media confirmed Isabel's name was the top trending topic. I clicked on a random post and saw a photo of her holding a glass of wine in one hand, the other arm wrapped around a well-built man. From the articles, I learned his name was Ethan, an online influencer. Isabel had apparently been his top donor, sending him millions in gifts over the past 6 months. Looking at the photos, I nodded to myself, not bad. Her taste has improved. He's definitely better looking than the last few. Ben gawked at me. "Mike, you're not angry?" "I'm angry for you. Why should I be angry?" I muttered, half to him and half to myself. The truth surprised me. Why wasn't I angry? Looking at the picture of Isabel, I felt like I was staring at a stranger. She was my wife, and everyone knew I used to be crazy about her. In the past, a scandal like this would leave me in tears, furious, completely shattered. But now, nothing, not a single ripple. It was like looking at a familiar face I no longer recognized. That's when it hit me I didn't love her anymore. The woman I had cared for the most had finally become a nobody to me. The realization was strange, but it felt like a heavy chain had fallen from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I felt light, almost free. Ben's voice broke my thoughts. "Mike, should I have security drive the paparazzi away?" "No," I said calmly. "Let them be. You can run, but you can't hide. I'm not the one who did anything wrong, so why should I be the one avoiding reporters?" I slipped on my sunglasses, grabbed my briefcase, and went downstairs. Sure enough, a crowd of reporters was waiting at the entrance. The moment they saw me, microphones and cameras were shoved in my face. "Mike, what are your thoughts on Ms. Isabel and the streamer Ethan? What's your impression of Ethan? Did your wife spend the night with him yesterday? We hear Isabel sent him millions. Do you have a comment on that?" Adjusted my sunglasses and answered each question calmly. It's their business. I have no opinion. Ethan seems like a handsome guy. As for whether they spent the night together, I wouldn't know. I wasn't there. Our finances are separate. How she spends her money is up to her. I have no objections. I kept a faint smile the whole time, completely composed. There was no furious outburst, no breakdown, nothing like the reaction they wanted. This wasn't the first time I'd been cornered by reporters about Isabel's scandals. But before, I was always a wreck. After each affair, my tired, broken face would end up on the front page, making me a public joke. Maybe that's why my calmness caught them off guard. Some even thought I was faking it. One reporter suddenly yanked off my sunglasses as cameras flashed in my eyes. But the face they captured had no dark circles, no swollen eyes from crying. The flash is a bit much. Can I have my sunglasses back? Please, I said with a smile, holding out my hand. The photos published later showed me well dressed, composed, completely unaffected by Isabel's cheating. The media speculated if we were already divorced or if I had stopped loving her a long time ago. Online, people buzzed with comments. Have you noticed? The past year, Mike's been all about his career. He probably stopped caring a long time ago. Hell, people online were saying it was about time. You barely see them together anymore. Used to follow her around everywhere. Is Mike finally ditching that train wreck? Thank God he's over being a lovesick puppy, seeing all those supportive comments. I quietly liked them and got back to work. I had just taken over JM Corporation from my father last year, and my schedule was packed. The whole Isabel and Ethan situation quickly slipped to the back of my mind. I didn't reach out to her, didn't even try. But Isabel couldn't sit still. For the first time in a long while, she came to pick me up from work. I had just wrapped up a client meeting when Ben mentioned she was waiting in reception. I glanced over. She stood up the moment our eyes met. I looked away, smiled, and walked my client to the door. "Mike, have you been busy?" she asked as she caught up. I nodded, then turned to my subordinate. "Olivia, let's go over that proposal again." Only after giving the instruction did I look back at Isabel. "Yeah, a bit." "Did you need something?" She had been studying me like she didn't recognize me anymore. "No, it's just, we haven't seen each other much lately. Want to get dinner tonight? I booked your favorite restaurant." "Sure, but you'll have to wait. I've got another meeting." By the time I was done, it was past 7. She was still waiting. When she saw me, she teased, "The great Mike is a hard man to reach these days. It's tough just to get dinner with you." I gave her a polite corporate-style apology. "Sorry. Things have been hectic at the office. Let's go." She drove while I leaned back and closed my eyes. I really was exhausted. "Mike, don't you think we've gotten distant? You barely talk to me anymore. Look at our texts when was the last time you messaged me?" Her voice carried a note of complaint. She wasn't wrong. I used to share everything with her, but she would brush me off, saying, "What's the big deal? Stop being so boring." Our last message thread was 3 months ago. "Just been tired lately." "Sorry," I murmured without opening my eyes. "Mike," Isabel sighed. "I feel like you're pushing me away. You haven't reached out to me either, have you?" She looked taken aback. It had always been me initiating contact, while she only ever messaged for urgent matters. She was used to being the center of attention. "You used to have so much to say," she muttered. I stayed silent. Finally, she said about the news. "It's not true. Are you mad at me?" "No, you're overthinking it. I knew you were mad. I was just watching a stream. I thought it was funny, so I sent some gifts. Then he mentioned an offline event and I just happened to be in the area. You don't need to explain." I rubbed my temples, cutting her off. My patience was gone. I wasn't interested in excuses. The coldness on my face clearly startled her. She opened her mouth but said nothing. Dinner passed in silence, tasteless. As we were leaving, she asked, "Want to go back to the villa in the hills?" That villa had been our marital home, a wedding gift from her parents that I had poured energy into renovating. But after the wedding, she'd chosen to keep living in her downtown condo, saying she needed her own space. We'd barely spent any nights there. Eventually, I moved back to my own apartment too. Now, she wanted to go back together. Without hesitation, I refused. "I've got meetings with several suppliers tomorrow. I'll just head back to my place." Her face fell, eyes narrowing with suspicion, but I didn't care. "Are you busy? If you are, I'll just have my driver pick me up." "Mike, can we please talk?" "Talk about what?" I asked flatly. "I feel like you're being really negative right now." The irony wasn't lost on me. Now that I was the one being cold, she suddenly couldn't handle it. I feigned confusion. "Negative, not at all. Honestly, I feel more motivated than ever. My dad even praised me yesterday. I'm talking about your attitude toward me. I'm sorry if that thing with Ethan caused a misunderstanding. Can explain." I smiled faintly at her. "There's no need." "Isabel, I really don't care." She looked flustered, clearly thinking I was still holding a grudge. "If you don't believe me, I can call him right now. Nothing happened between us, I swear." My phone rang. It was my driver telling me he was outside. After hanging up, I grabbed my bag to leave, but Isabel caught my wrist. "Mike, you've changed." She was right. I had changed. I didn't know when it happened, but I had stopped revolving around her, stopped caring about every little thing she did. But wasn't this exactly what she had wanted? I used to put her first in everything, and she constantly told me not to be so clingy. Now that I had finally let go, she still wasn't. Satisfied, but I no longer cared. I pried her fingers off my wrist one by one. People change, Isabel. I do, and so do you. She stared at me in shock as I walked away without looking back. After that, Isabel started trying harder, checking in on me every day, but all I felt was a deep sense of repulsion. Her sudden thoughtfulness seemed cheap, almost laughable. I realized that even being alone with her felt awkward. I had nothing left to talk about, and I no longer had the desire to share anything with her. That's when I finally began to seriously evaluate our relationship. Oh, maybe it was time for a divorce. But the thought of our families made me hesitate. The person who finally pushed me toward that decision was Ethan. I had never met him, but after Isabel started distancing herself, he directed all his resentment at me, went live on his stream, teary-eyed, talking about how his relationship with his #1 fan was being destroyed by a powerful third party. His morals were twisted, but he had countless brainless fans. The comments section was full of people attacking Misam, even saying things like, "The one who isn't loved is the real homewrecker." Ben showed me the video furiously. I watched Ethan's little performance and laughed bitterly. I immediately forwarded the video to Isabel. "What's up with your little boyfriend? Can you please keep me out of your drama? If you want to divorce me and marry him, I'll sign the papers right now." Isabel called me right away, swearing. She had just stumbled across his stream, found him amusing, and treated him like a friend. She admitted to sending a few gifts, but insisted she was ignoring him now. I told her to make sure he never bothered me again, and she quickly agreed. Apparently, they had a huge fight afterward. Isabel later told me it was handled. I didn't ask for details, nor did I care, but I didn't expect Ethan to escalate. He went live again, this time accusing me of hiring people to threaten him and his family. He painted me as some arrogant rich man bullying a poor self-made influencer, and his followers ate it up. His stream blew up tens of millions of views, comments, and likes, and suddenly a wave of public outrage came crashing down on the JM Corporation. Protesters pretending to be customers even showed up at our building with banners, shouting baseless accusations about our products. Rumors spread like wildfire. Even my parents, who were abroad, called me to ask what was going on. My grandfather had built this company from the ground up. I wasn't about to let a petty online clown drag our name through the mud. If Ethan wanted to cling to Isabel, I couldn't care less, but the moment he targeted my company, I refused to tolerate it. I immediately called the police, sent all our products for official quality testing, and released the reports publicly to prove everything was legitimate. At the same time, I had our legal team send Ethan a cease and desist letter and file a lawsuit against him personally. His streaming channel was eventually banned. Once everything was set, I texted Isabel, "Are you free? Let's meet up this afternoon." She replied instantly, "Yes, I am." "What do you want to eat? I'll make a reservation. I'll pick you up tonight." When we met, her face was glowing with excitement. "Mike, what made you want to have dinner with me?" I smiled faintly. "Actually, I have something to discuss with you." During dinner, I casually brought up Ethan. "So, how are things with you and that influencer boyfriend of yours?" "Mike, he's not my boyfriend," she insisted. I leaned back, unimpressed. "Funny. Yesterday, I got some pictures of you two out at a club. I thought you were going to marry him. Ethan somehow got hold of my social media and, using a burner account, sent me a series of photos of him and Isabel looking far too close, including one where she was asleep. I handed my phone to Isabel. "These photos aren't fake, are they?" Her face shifted through several emotions as she stared at them, and she tried to explain. "I went out with some girlfriends a few nights ago. Don't even know how." He showed up, had too much to drink, and he was just helping me. I stayed silent, just watching her. Honestly, I didn't care what excuse she came up with. I'd already made up my mind. Being tied to her meant I'd always be dragged down into her mess. Leopard doesn't change its spots. She would cheat again and again, and I was done letting her ruin me. My focus was on the company now, and I couldn't afford these distractions anymore. She panicked, insisting I really didn't contact him. He just appeared. We didn't do anything. If you don't believe me, I can call him over. You can even ask Wendy. I took out the divorce agreement and handed it to her. Let's get a divorce. Our finances have always been separate what's yours is yours, what's mine is mine. The rest is detailed in the contract. Read it. Her face went pale, her hands trembling as she clutched the papers. Mike, are you serious? Sign it and we'll both be free. Why? I know I was awful before, but I never thought about divorcing you. Well, I have. I don't love you anymore. She let out a broken laugh, tossed the agreement onto the floor, and grabbed my shoulders. Why? You've loved me for 10 years. How can you suddenly say you don't? You're right. I did love you for 10 years. And how did you treat me during those years? No one waits forever, Isabel. 10 years is enough. It's over. Her guilt showed in her eyes as she pleaded, Can't we start over, please? Didn't you always want to see the Great Rift Valley, the Serengeti? I'll book the tickets right now. For a moment, she looked at me with hope. Africa had been my dream trip. We planned for our honeymoon. But thanks to her, that honeymoon never happened. I've already been to Africa. With who? Why didn't I know? 3 years ago? Right after we got married, I went alone. Shoulders slumped, as if the life had been drained from her. Her face turned pale, and she forced a bitter smile. I'm sorry, but those words felt so cheap. The deepest wound she had ever given me was right after we got married. I was 24, overjoyed despite our marriage being arranged. Our families were well matched. The wedding was grand. Her parents gifted us a house. And I thought life was perfect. I never expected that the very next day, I'd become the city's laughingstock. The night of our extravagant wedding, a video went viral, an intimate one of Isabel with another man. Multiple clips of them together in bed, ending with him in tears, confessing they even had a child through surrogacy. The baby was already 3 months old, and he was asking the internet for advice, posting the birth certificate and surrogacy documents as proof. When I saw that video, my blood turned cold. The happiness I thought I had built shattered instantly, replaced by betrayal and humiliation. The man showed up at our door with paparazzi trailing behind, demanding Isabel take responsibility. He gave her 2 choices: divorce me and marry him, or pay him $100 million in child support. But Isabel, as always, pushed it all on me. Mike, what do you think we should do? I stared at her in disbelief, my voice shaking. Don't tell me you expect me to raise your mistress's child. The man sneered, delighted by her shameless refusal to take responsibility. Said marrying you was just something she had to do. She couldn't marry the man she really loved, so she settled for you, someone her parents would approve of. My head spun. Then who is her so-called dream guy? At first I thought he was bluffing to get what he wanted. But then he said a name I never expected. Sean. His birthday is October 14th. That night we were together, but she stayed up until midnight just to send someone else a happy birthday message. The way she talked about him, her eyes were different, glowing with affection, like a schoolgirl with her first crush. That's when I realized the wild, carefree Isabel could actually be so devoted to someone. Mike, you really love her, don't you? But she doesn't love you at all. She doesn't deserve you. I'm different. I only love her money. Those words sent me into an icy abyss, Sean. Of course I knew Sean. He was a few years older, someone we grew up playing with as kids. In my memory, he was always smiling, a Stratus student, the role model our parents compared us to. His family had moved their business up north, and I hadn't seen him since. I heard he went abroad, settled down, and was married for years. Looking at the man in front of me now, I saw a faint familiarity in his face. His eyes, they looked a lot like Sean's. Isabel had been the subject of rumors before, but there was never solid proof. She always cut ties quickly, so I dismissed them as misunderstandings. But then I started thinking back to all her rumored flings, and realized they shared one thing in common. They all resembled Sean in some way. It felt like waking from a dream. I shook with rage, grabbed Isabel by the collar, and shouted, "So it's always been Sean? Why? What's wrong with me?" She never stayed up until midnight to wish me happy birthday. She couldn't even remember my birthday. It turned out she did have a heart. It just belonged to someone else, leaving no room for me.
Alice.
I laughed and cried at the same time, my chest splitting open from the truth. Isabel's eyes were cold as she pried my hands away and smoothed the wrinkles from her clothes. Can you stop being so dramatic? This has nothing to do with Sean. With all these reporters here, do you realize how much trouble you're causing for him? Fine, I said bitterly. I won't mention him again. You'd be heartbroken if his reputation got even slightly tarnished, wouldn't you? I looked at her, my heart shattering. In a fit of despair, I slapped her across the face, then stumbled to the garage, got in a car, and drove off. The paparazzi's HD cameras captured my pathetic escape. Within hours, I was trending online. Mocked like a clown for everyone to see. I just wanted to disappear, to escape to a place where no one knew me. Our honeymoon tickets had been booked. Long ago, non-refundable. So I grabbed my luggage and went to the airport alone. I stayed away for half a year, my phone switched off, except for the rare check-in with my parents. In Africa, wandering the Serengeti, watching raw nature play out. My heartbreak seemed smaller compared to the brutality of life there. When I finally came back, Isabel apologized, and even wrote a formal letter of promise in front of both families. I chose to forgive her. My father asked if I wanted a divorce, if I wanted to cut ties completely. I hesitated. Yes, I was pathetic. I had loved her too long, and the thought of becoming strangers was unbearable. But even after forgiving her, I wasn't happy. The fact that she almost had another man's child was a thorn in my heart, always bleeding. Whenever I moved, seeing me so lifeless, my father told me to start working with him. He said he'd gradually hand the company over to me. Our business was 50 years old, built by my grandfather's sweat, then strengthened by my father's hard work. I remember going with him on a factory inspection. He looked around and said, "We have over 200,000 people working in our factories. You have to work hard and be careful with every step. This isn't just about our family. About 200,000 families. If the company fails, that would be a terrible sin." He clapped my shoulder and added, "From now on, this responsibility will gradually be yours. I hope you can put all your focus into it." So I did. I went to work with him, visited factories, met clients and distributors. The busy schedule pulled me out of my slump. Isabel was photographed with other men a few more times, and though I made a scene once or twice, the pain wasn't soul-crushing anymore. Maybe I was numb. Or maybe I finally realized the problem was never just those men. It was the shadow of Sean that lingered in all of them. He probably didn't even realize he had been someone's first love. Isabel picked up the divorce. Papers again, smoothed them flat on the table, and looked at me. "Mike, we've been together for so many years. I don't want it to end like this. I'm not signing this." I had already expected her to refuse, but my mind was set. If I had to, I would take her to court and drag out the divorce. We were at a standoff when Ethan suddenly burst into the room. "Isabel, I knew you'd be here." Her face darkened. "Are you following me?" "I just happened to have plans." "To meet a friend here," he said, but his voice lacked conviction and his eyes flicked nervously toward me. Isabel frowned, clearly annoyed and confused. "Actually, it's good you're both here. We need to clear the air," I said, motioning for them to sit down. The truth was, I was the one who had asked Ethan to come. After he got banned from the streaming platform, he tried using other accounts, but nothing worked. The facial recognition system was too advanced. Every time he appeared on camera, the stream was shut down. He had lived off big donations and a lavish lifestyle, but with his income gone, he was desperate. On top of that, the lawsuit we filed against him for slander was going to court soon. He was staring at the possibility of jail time, and Isabel was his best chance at survival. He wasn't about to let her go. Meanwhile, he'd been messaging me every day on social media, trying to provoke me into a divorce. Honestly, I couldn't wait to be rid of Isabel. If he could convince her to sign the papers, I'd gladly. Him won. "Mike, there's really nothing between us," Isabel said quickly, trying to distance herself from Ethan. I threw my hands up and gave Ethan a mocking smile. "See? Ms. Isabel doesn't even seem to know you that well." His jaw tightened. "Did you call me here just to humiliate me?" "I know you're a rich kid," I can't compete with you. But everyone knows your marriage is just for show. You two have been sleeping in separate beds for ages. If it weren't for your family, do you really think Isabel would even give you the time of day? I sighed inside. If he actually wanted to win her, he should have tried being charming instead of attacking me. I pulled a stack of photos from my bag and tossed them across the table. Take a look. You're all the other guys your dear Isabel has been with. You're not the first, and you won't be the last. Notice any similarities? Ethan picked up the photos, looking puzzled. You're just another stand-in for her first love, the one she could never have. Mike, stop talking nonsense. I don't have a first love, that's all in the past, Isabel snapped. I ignored her and kept my eyes on Ethan. The one refusing to sign the divorce papers is Isabel, not me. I pushed the agreement back toward her. Sign it, Ms. Isabel. Then you and your little boyfriend can run off into the sunset together. She snatched the papers and tore them to pieces. Stop this nonsense. This is between us. Why are you bringing an outsider to watch the show, you see? She's the one who won't let go, I said, looking at Ethan. Isabel, is what he's saying true? Ethan asked softly, biting his lip as he looked at her pitifully. I stood, grabbed my bag, and patted Ethan on the shoulder. She's all yours. With that, I walked out of the private room, carefully closing the door behind me. From inside, I could hear Isabel shouting furiously, Mike, what is the meaning of this? Later that night, Ethan sent me a video. It was explicit. He was gloating. See, Isabel still loves me as much as ever. I smirked and saved the video. For the next few days, Isabel didn't contact me. Instead, I got a call from my father-in-law. Mike, when are you free? It's been a while since I've seen you and Isabel. My birthday is next week. You two should come over for a family dinner. He had watched me grow up and always treated me with kindness. I couldn't refuse, so I agreed. On the day of his birthday, all his old friends were there. He pulled me to his side, proudly bragging about me to everyone he met. I recognized several of the other uncles as well. We moved in the same circles, and they greeted me warmly. The atmosphere was pleasant. A little while later, Isabel arrived, and quietly stood by my side. One of the uncles teased her, Isabel, why aren't you hanging out with the other ladies? She smiled, glanced at me and replied, Mike's here. Another uncle laughed and said, look at that. You two are just like newlyweds, thick as thieves. We only borrowed your husband for a few minutes, and you're already here to claim him, they went on. It's true, Isabel has really matured. Women just figure out what they want later in life. A few years ago, Isabel was always driving people crazy, but look at her now, so composed. The uncles kept praising her while my father-in-law smiled and said, it's all thanks to Mike's patience. I was never happy with anything that girl did, but when she started dating Mike, I supported it 100%. Isabel, you'd better take good care of your husband from now on. There's no more making him suffer. Look at all the trouble you put him through. Only Mike would tolerate you. Their banter made me uncomfortable, but I couldn't say anything. I just forced a smile and played along. No, Dad! I'm working on it, Isabel said, as she came over and took my hand. I tried to pull away, but she gave me a pleading. Look, Mike, haven't you always wanted to meet Ken? He's here today. I'll take you to him, Ken. I asked, surprised. You used to complain about never getting the chance to talk shop with him, she reminded me. And I realized the Ken she was talking about was the industry titan I deeply respected. I had wanted to meet him for a long time, but never had the chance. I remembered mentioning it to Isabel once. Seeing my confusion, she explained, Ken worked with your mother back in the day. He went abroad for a while, but when he came back, he settled up north. They've stayed in touch over the years. Back when I was struggling with a product issue in our company, I had told Isabel how much I wished I could consult with Ken. She knew him then, but she never offered to help. Now that our company's problems were already solved, she suddenly brought it up. Still eager to learn, I agreed to meet him. Isabel stayed by my side the whole time, playing the part of the perfect supportive wife. Even Ken praised her for being more focused and driven than before. As we were leaving, Isabel looked at me hopefully and said, It's getting late. The traffic back to the city will be bad. Why don't we stay at the villa in the hills? The villa was only 20 Minutes from her parents' house? Stay where? It's not like you don't have a room here, her father chimed in. You two haven't been back to see me in ages. Mike can keep me company tonight. I felt awkward. If I stayed, I would have to share a room with Isabel. But seeing my father-in-law's earnest eyes, I couldn't bring myself to refuse him. Just then, my phone rang. Mike, bad news. There's an emergency at the office. We need you to come in personally. I put the phone on speaker. Ben's frantic voice clashed with the warm atmosphere around us. I let out a sigh of relief, hung up and said apologetically, I'm so sorry. Something came up at work. It must be urgent if they're still there this late. I should go. I'll drive you, Isabel said, pulling out her car keys and walking ahead of me. I followed her outside, but my driver was already waiting. My driver's here. You've had a long day. You should stay here and spend some time with them, I said. Isabel's face fell. She sighed and said, Your driver got here fast. You just don't want to be alone with me, do you? I stayed silent. Is there anything I can do to make you come back? She asked. No. Can we please start over? No. With that, I got into the car without looking back. It wasn't that I hadn't given her chances. I've given her countless chances. I'm never signing those papers. Never. The voice came from behind me. I scoffed and shut the door. The next day, I gathered my thoughts and called my father-in-law to tell him I was divorcing Isabel. All I heard on the other end was a long, weary sigh. After a pause, he said, Mike, I watched you grow up. You're like a son to me. After all these years together, are you sure you want to throw it all away? Besides, she knows she was wrong. She's changing. Can't you give her one more chance? I thought for a moment, but all I could say was, I'm sorry. My father was a good man, but he was still her father. My own dad would only tell me to leave. Hers would always tell me to forgive. But the pain from 3 years ago was still fresh. That thorn was still lodged in my heart. Just because I didn't look at it didn't mean it wasn't there. Isabel started acting like a repentant child, coming to my office every day to bring me 3 meals. I told her to stop many times, but she ignored me. I was busy with work and usually just ordered takeout. So she had her housekeeper cook for me and drove it over herself. Sometimes she even cooked on her own. Whenever I ate something she made, she would always ask, How? Is it? Do you like it? If you do, I'll make it for you more often. She was acting just like I used to. Back then, I joyfully prepared 3 meals a day for her, the woman who had never cooked before teaching. Myself soups and stir-fries just to make her happy. But there was no going back. I brought up the divorce again. Her eyes welled up with tears, her voice raw. Why won't you forgive me this time? And the truth is, I'm not a forgiving person. I'm petty and I hold grudges. The only reason I forgave her before was because I loved her. I couldn't bear to lose her, so I swallowed my pride. But now that the love was gone, all the resentment I had buried came flooding out. Everything about her annoyed me, seeing my silence. She laughed bitterly. I suddenly feel like I don't know you anymore. Are you even the same Mike I knew? The truth is, she never knew me at all. Isabel still refused to sign. I went back to the villa in the hills and packed up all my things. I just wanted to be done with her as soon as possible, before I left. I looked around the empty house, and a pang of sadness hit my chest. When her mother bought us the place, she told us to decorate it however we wanted. I had studied design, so I designed the entire house myself. I hired a construction company and spent every day with the workers, agonizing over every detail. It took more than a year to get it exactly how I wanted. While decorating, I dreamed of a life with Isabel, the family we would build of happy days spent together. But on the very first day we moved in, her affair hit me like a ton of bricks. That house became nothing more than a monument to my heartbreak. I handed the divorce case over to my lawyers and took my team on a business trip to Europe. By the time I returned, 6 months had passed. Thanks to Isabel's refusal to cooperate, the divorce still wasn't finalized. As for Ethan, he and his fans were found guilty of slandering me and JM Corporation. Ethan was sentenced to a year in prison. The fans who had caused a scene at our company got 6 months to a year as well. The day I got back, Isabel somehow found out my flight details and came to the airport with a bouquet of flowers. She looked worn out after 6 months. I hate the moment. She saw me. Her face lit up with joy as she rushed over. You're finally back, Mike. I've missed you so much. Anyone who didn't know us would have thought we were a loving couple. She reached out to hug me, but I subtly stepped aside. It has been a while. Her face fell, sadness clouding her eyes. Honey, I missed you. Miss Isabel, you shouldn't use that title so freely. If I remember correctly, the second hearing for our divorce case is coming up soon, isn't it? Her voice trembled. Are you that desperate to get rid of me? Mike, who are you talking to? Who is this? Aren't you going to introduce us? A pleasant female voice came from behind me. A graceful woman was standing by my side. I laughed lightly. My soon-to-be ex-wife, Isabel. She gave Isabel a polite nod. Vivian Lin. Vivian Lin's reputation preceded her. She was the only daughter of Henry Lin, the richest man in the city and head of the Lin Group. She was a prodigy, outperforming her peers in every way. She was accepted into a prestigious foreign university at 14, and after earning her PhD, she founded her own investment firm. In recent years, every project she invested in had yielded returns of several hundredfold, making her a star. In the investment world, I had met her by chance on my trip. When I mentioned our company's industry, Vivian showed real interest and said she wanted to tour our factories. Isabel's expression immediately darkened. She pointed at Vivian and snapped, "Are you divorcing me because of her?" I scoffed. Isabel, Ms. Lin, and I are just business partners. Let's get something straight. I didn't even know her when I filed for divorce. Vivian frowned slightly, giving Isabel a once-over. Mike, this is your ex-wife. She has a mountain of scandals of her own, yet she has the nerve to spread rumors about us. How pathetic. Isabel's face turned pale. Her fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white, and her eyes looked like they were ready to spit fire. Mike, over here, I heard a voice call. I turned to see Ben waving excitedly. Let's go. The company car is here. We walked away, leaving Isabel standing there, seething with rage. Do you want my help with your divorce? Vivian asked, noticing my serious expression and assuming I was upset. Thanks, but I've got it, I said, politely declining her offer. Why? Weren't you just complaining about it? The Lin family has business dealings with her family. I could apply some corporate pressure. Isabel would probably back down. Our families have known each other for generations, I replied calmly. I don't want things to get too ugly. Besides, this is between two families. If outsiders get involved, people will talk. Seeing her frown, I smiled. Don't worry. I have a way to make her let go. The day after I returned, my family hosted a welcome dinner for me. Isabel came with her father. In front of everyone, she suddenly dropped to her knees. Mike, I was wrong. Ow. I didn't know what I wanted before, but I do now. You're the one I want to spend my life with.
Ow.
Please, give me one more chance. My father-in-law's eyes were red as he walked over and took my hand. Mike, just give her one more chance, please. I chuckled softly, leaned close to Isabel, and whispered something in her ear. She froze, hesitated for a moment, then finally stood up and signed the divorce papers. Since we didn't share many assets and I had no interest in her family's money, the divorce was finalized quickly. We were finally strangers. From then on, whenever we ran into each other at business functions, we exchanged nothing more than a polite nod. Meanwhile, Vivian and I quickly reached a cooperation agreement on the day of the ribbon-cutting ceremony. For our new project, dozens of media outlets showed up to cover it. Our new production line used the most advanced technology, earning praise and endorsement from numerous industry experts. I was on the front page again, but this time, not for a scandal. This time I was there as a successful entrepreneur giving an interview. After the ceremony, Vivian asked if I wanted to grab a drink to celebrate. I agreed. At the entrance to the bar, we unexpectedly ran into Isabel, drinking alone. Her hair was messy, and she had lost the confident swagger she once carried. Vivian smirked. I hear things haven't been going so well for her lately. Oh, I raised an eyebrow, genuinely surprised. I hadn't been following her family's situation. The W Corporation has cash flow problems. Half of their factories are mortgaged. Vivian explained with a smile. No wonder none of her fair-weather friends are around anymore. By the way, she added, how did you finally get her to willingly sign the divorce papers? Vivian had always been curious. I simply shook my head and smiled. It was nothing. I just told her that her first love had also gotten a divorce. If she didn't sign, I would send him that explicit video of her with that little streamer. I nodded. Isabel would never let her first love see a video like that. Whether she ever confessed her feelings to Sean in the end, I'll never know. The truth is, Isabel was my first love too. But Sean living far away in another country was like the moon to her. Bright, beautiful, and forever out of reach. And me, my obsession with Isabel, after 10 years of pain, was finally put to rest. People can be haunted their entire lives by what they couldn't have when they were young. But eventually something happens that sets them free. I raised my glass to Vivian and smiled. To a successful partnership.